I think it was beginning of May 1945. Our outfit came across a POW camp near Lambach, Austria. And it was mostly with RAF, British flyboys. RAF is Royal Air Force. And they were mostly in pretty good shape, thin. You obviously hadn't been fed well, you could see that by looking at them, but overall, pretty good shape. Very thankful that they were liberated. And for the first time, we heard something like, hey guys, there's rumors, we heard rumors that there's a camp for Jews a few kilometers down the road. I remember we all looked at each other, and I mean, I'm Jewish, but we didn't know anything about camps for Jews. And I say that for a reason, because when I speak to a lot of the schools, and as I do now, some of the Q&A afterwards, the kids say to me, you said you didn't know about camps for Jews, Mr. Moskin? I thought the soldiers, you went over there to liberate the camps for Jews. No, we didn't know anything. We never heard anything about camps for Jews. My officers, none of my buddies. I'm not talking about the president or up top, because I found out later, which I'm not going to get into because I get hot under the collar, that they damn well knew about these camps. They've been going up for years, but we didn't know about them. So we started to march. I remember it was like into a forest kind of an area. And all of a sudden, there was the most offensive, nauseating stench that you can imagine. It's so hard to describe. It was a stench that got into your nostrils, into your brain. It permeated through your whole system. We all looked at each other, what is that stink? It got worse and it got worse. And finally, I remember looking through some trees, and I saw like barbed wire. As we got closer and the stench was getting worse, there was a compound with barbed wire fences. Turned out to be what's called the Gunskirschen Lager, Gunskirchen, Gunskirchen Lager. Lager, I think, means camp in German, but the Gunskirchen Lager, it was a sub-camp of Mauthausen concentration camp in Austria. Very little resistance. There was just one SS officer that I recall was told to drop his gun, God, by the interpreter several times. For some reason, he wanted to be a hero, or he was stupid. He didn't do it. I had to take care of him, blow him away. That was the last mistake he ever made. And then we cut through the barbed wire and entered this camp. And entering that camp was the most horrific sight I've ever seen or ever hoped to see the rest of my life. On the left, there were piles of skeleton-like bodies. On the right, the same thing. When I say skeleton-like, I mean skeleton-like. Bones with no flesh, piled on top of each other. Those who were alive were so emaciated it defies description. I don't think any of them could have weighed more than 50, 60, 70 pounds. I remember seeing people coming toward me look like zombies. All I remember seeing like broomsticks for arms and legs, no flesh, all bones, cheeks hollowed out, sunken into the sockets of the eyes, receding into the head, hair mostly they didn't have, sores all over the bodies. The stench I told you about, it was just horrific. And we had seen combat. I had seen dead bodies, but nothing like this. These were civilians. Many were crawling. They looked like zombies. They had these dirty, it looked like rags to me, but they had like gray and white striped pajamas. Some with the top, some with the bottom. It's filthy. Essenbitter, Wasserbitter, Zigarettenbitter, food, water, cigarette. I didn't smoke. Some of the guys would hand out their cigarettes. And I remember visually watching, and I'll tell you, they would take the wrappings of the cigarettes with their fingers to pull the wrappings and then stick the tobacco like in their mouth and chew as fast as they could. I mean, I was in shock watching what starvation does to people. Then many would grab their esophagus like here, and they start choking and falling to the ground. And we didn't know, and because we were handing out our K's and C rations when they asked Essen, but the food, we trying to help, and then the medics start screaming, "No solid food, no solid food," because apparently when you starve, your windpipe clamps up or it shuts down, you can't swallow. So there was mass confusion with people choking, falling to the ground. It was, as I said, it was horror. And then we were ordered to check out the barracks, like far as you could see, hundreds of thousands of meters, 2 levels of barracks, bunks, upper level and a lower level. And these poor souls, that's the term my lieutenant used affectionately. He kept saying, poor souls, these poor souls. But as far as you could see, there were bodies laying on top of each other, some dead, some in the terminal throes of dying. You couldn't stay in there. The smell was so bad. I remember someone was saying, "Kannst du helfen Sie mir? Kannst du helfen Sie mir?" I mean, something like, "Help me, help me." I remember when I was outside seeing this elderly gentleman come up to me. And he went down on the ground, and then he started to kiss my boots. My boots were filled with blood and feces and mud. And I knew he meant well. He was trying to be affectionate to me. He was saying, "Danke," and he was kissing my boots, but it made me very uncomfortable. And I remember picking him up under the armpits and bringing him up toward me. And as I did, as his head came up, I looked at the back of the nape of his neck and down his back. And oh my God, there were these open, pussy, festering sores. And out of the sores, the lice. They all had lice because the camps were filthy. So the lice were crawling out of these sores. And it smelled. And God, I don't know how God gave me the strength not to back off. He smelled from high heaven. But I somehow had the strength to hold my ground. And he came up and I embraced him. And he started to kiss me and say, "Danke, danke, Americana, Juda." American, Jew, Juda, Americana. And he was crying, and then I started to cry, and there was a lot of crying going on, and I'm not embarrassed to tell you this was very emotional. And then as I told you about the barracks, I couldn't stay in the barracks. The smell was too bad, and as I came out, I started screaming for the medics, and the poor medics were overmatched. I mean, there were thousands of these people dead, dying. Everywhere you looked in the Gunskirschen Lager was the foul stench of the dead and the dying. Everywhere you looked, so the medics had tried to decide who they could help and who they couldn't help, make that decision. But I remember coming out and seeing this dead horse on the side of the road, and 3 of these poor soldiers, my lieutenant referred to, had the bark of a tree, and they started digging it into the guts, into the entrails. And I'm watching as they're digging this bark of a tree, and then they start pulling the guts and the entrails of the horse and chewing on that, and the blood was squirting all over. And I almost threw up watching this. It was what starvation does to you, to see what people are like animals, what they were doing. And then I remember this young fellow, I don't know his age, you couldn't tell. It's hard when they're so thin, but he looked young to me, or like a bag of bones. He was outside the barracks with the back of his head against the barracks outside, and he made eye contact with me, and a medic there was trying to console him. This one medic, I forgot his name, who could interpret a little bit. Excuse me, and he was mumbling, but he made eye contact with me, looking at me and mumbling, and I said to the medic, "What is he trying to say to me?" And all the medic could say is something, and I'm paraphrasing now, but I remember he was saying, "Why did they want to kill me? Why did they do this to me? Why did they want to kill me? Just because I'm Jewish? Just because I'm Jewish? Why did they do this?" Over and over again. And I didn't know what to say at first, and then his head went down, and the medic gave me the no pulse sign. He had no pulse. He died. And that's how this young fella died. Why did they do this to me? I don't know what I could have answered him anyway, but I never had a chance to answer him. As I said, it was just so horrific. every time I talk about it, I can visualize some of these things, and that's why I couldn't talk about it. It was too horrible to try to remember. It left a mark on me, what I saw there. It left a mark in my heart, my soul. I wish I could get rid of the mark, but I can't. I can't get rid of the mark. I say to myself over and over again, I continue to say it, why did the free world, why did the civilized world let something like this happen? How could this happen? How could they let something like this happen? Because I found out later there were hundreds, if not thousands, of these camps all over Europe. And they went up in the 30s and 40s. And the free world didn't do a damn thing about it.